everyone. Today we are back with a book reading with Kelly Johnson, and we look forward to a great event. She is the co author of Close Friends and Relatives and is uh, she writes non-fiction advocacy pieces, but she also writes poetry. So let's have her on, and we hope. Yes. Hi, Kelly. I don't think you joined.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, glad to have you. So, namaste from India, and welcome.
Thank
And
you.
we're really honored to have you here, and we look forward to a very interesting event. So, to begin with, why don't you tell us something about yourself, at least for the sake of our audience here?
Mhm. So, I've been writing poetry for, I think, years, probably since my teenage years, and I've always loved writing. But last year, I made a goal that I would finally get something published. So the act of actually putting my words out there in terms of poetry was scary, but it was a goal that I had, that I wanted to be in print finally. So I thought of contributing to an anthology because to me that was an easy way to get noticed, I guess, or to get out there. So I'm really happy to say that I achieved this goal this year by being part of this anthology.
You must have tried a lot, I guess, in trying to submit work to a lot of other anthologies as well, and it would have been a very rough path to get through, I believe. What
Yeah, I
made
mean,
you
sorry.
what made you decide to submit your work to our anthology? How did it link with your work, link with what you were coming up with the submission call that you submitted, put up? What made you decide that this will go well with our anthology?
I mean, I hoped, because it was about, it was, since it's called Close Friends and Relatives, it's about a relationship. The poem that I have is about a broken relationship, um, and so I had to try many different ways and different places that I submitted. You receive a lot of rejection, but at my heart, I was like, this poem can't be that bad. It has to be, it's not, you can't take these things personally when you get rejected. You have to just wait till you find the right spot for it, and the right people that want to see it and want to read it. So
I'm glad that we could help you out here and we could publish your work, and it's a really good piece. I did go through it again very recently since we were having an event here. And about your what you've said about yourself, there are a couple of interesting things which you've mentioned. Would you like to talk a little bit about the bit where you say, eh, I'm a black non-binary autistic and hearing self, something that you mentioned that what does that exactly mean?
yeah, so hard of hearing means I don't have complete hearing in my right ear. Sometimes I wear a hearing aid. Most of the time I decide I don't like wearing the hearing aid. But I mean, I'm a very multifaceted person. So I'm autistic. I'm hard of hearing. I'm black. I'm non-binary. I carry a lot of different identities with me, and that's a lot of what goes into the advocacy work that I do in my regular life, my regular day job.
Why do you look at those as limitations? Those could also be your strengths, by the way. I
Oh yeah,
just like
I didn't say there were limitations, not at all. So this is what powers my advocacy. So I'm able to go in and show people that there are benefits and strengths despite some challenges. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that when I'm talking to you, you're really sharp and you're really to the factual and to the point. You know, you are like a no nonsense person. Forgive me if I'm wrong here in understanding that, but it looks like that when I'm talking to you. Now, coming to the poem, would you like to recite that for us, and then we can
Yeah,
talk
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
about. Just give me a moment, and I'll just be back. I think there is.
Okay.
I'll just be. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be better. Yeah.
Okay. So it's called I'll Shave My Head Purple.
Okay.
I'll shave my head purple. We'll see how it goes again. Tomorrow I start over. I see you in the darkness. The breath of a child after the ring of fire, longed for and waited, I blow out the candle. Queasy with joy, the waters break from my eyes as I wipe your kisses off my floor. While I search the room for your name, I'll shave my head purple. I'll see you again.
Okay. So that's the title itself. For to begin with, is really unusual. So, can you? I'll like to first help us understand how what is the uh, drive. What led you to choose this title and what brought up this title is the first question I think that people would like to know, and then they will for sure they would want to know what it means. You know, so if you can help us with that.
So it came from more like a dream, and kind of a strange way of visualizing, I guess, shaving off something but having it replaced with something else, as if you automatically shaved off your hair and left a trail of purple, like dyeing your hair, but there's no hair there. So it's very much kind of the loss of something, but replaced with something else completely different that you might not expect. Very, again, very, I guess, very strange imagery, but.
No, I'm able to relate with that, Kelly. I'm able to relate with what you're trying to say. It's like, a wound which is bare and it's just being shielded with a thought till the time it is ready to be, till the time the band-aid is allowed to come off. Like the wound is goes purple when it is really, it's said that way. I'm perceiving it that way.
Yeah.
And then when the wound is healed, then you can remove the band-aid and that purple is no longer purple. That's how I am perceiving what you seem to be saying.
Yeah, or there might be a scar underneath the band-aid. It's something different, but it's healed. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So you've mentioned that you'd like to talk about the story behind the poem. Would you like to do something on that, those lines?
So this came out of, first it came out of this kind of stream of consciousness, this kind of dream-like vision, I guess. But it ended up morphing into the miscarriages I had before I had my first son. And so this idea that, like I say, longed for and waited, I blow out the candle. This child that I had wanted is now gone, but the idea that there's pain, but I will see them again. I have this idea that I will see my miscarried children at some point in another version of themselves, or perhaps in an afterlife. I don't know. I'm not particularly religious, but it's just this idea that I will see them again in a different form.
Actually, that regret that you are expressing can be something which you can carry throughout your life, unless there is something which makes you get over it. I have had such experiences with people who live with that regret. That regret or pain, you can say, needn't be regret. It could be pain. It could be remorse. There are multiple names you can give to it.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry to hear about the miscarriages in the first place. I relate with it. Trust me, and I've been around people who have had such instances, and I've also lived with people who have, and it is difficult.
Yeah, it's more common than people talk about, right? It's not something that people want to talk about, and I think there's a lot of. It's one of the only times that we mourn, but we don't necessarily have a ceremony around it. Especially if it was a very early miscarriage. It's the time that we grieve, but we don't publicly grieve, right? There's no cemetery, there's no grave, there's nothing. It's just a loss that women especially are supposed to kind of just hide and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, I understand. It's sometimes it can be termed as cruelty also on the part of society, which causes such things to happen.
Yeah.
Circumstantial things. So tell me something more about your writing journey. Let's try to get to know you a little bit better. You began writing before those miscarriages or after those?
Before. So writing has always been part of my healing and my way of processing things. I'd say I'm probably a better writer than I am speaker. So
don't
it's
worry,
a way.
I'm an orator, so I can bring that out of you.
But yeah, I've always processed information. I've always processed my emotions by writing them out. And even like in the early days of my relationship with my husband, we used to write letters back and forth. Even though we were together, we were in the same city and everything. We used to write to each other, and it just seemed easier for me to have my emotions come out that way. So I've always loved writing.
I'm sure you have discovered more about each other through writing those letters than talking to each other over drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you are not able to express some things which you write on paper and hand it over to the person, and that what you would like. Otherwise, the person who you're sitting with, what you will express would be different from what. And it's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Really.
for sure.
So, what made you start this writing process? It's a healing process, okay. And what I'm trying to get to is there has been some impulse behind your writing, the passion or the writing that you say that it's a healing process. What drives you to write?
I don't think it was just about the writing. It was about the fact of letting other people read it for the first time, of letting the world see it. And so that was a process in itself, because everybody, I would say, I wrote something, and then my friends would say, oh, can I read it? And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I don't know, I'm kind of not ready yet. So I'm not really sure what finally gave me the confidence to put it out there. I'm not really 100% sure. Maybe it was the pandemic. Maybe it was like almost like you've only got one life. Let's do it well, and just stop worrying about what other people think and just go out and do it. So.
It seems like to get to be more understood by the people when you said the pandemic. It seems like people you're not able to communicate as much as one likes to. That's what people ended up becoming writers in the pandemic, because they wanted to express themselves. That's look, here, I am a human being. You need to understand. Instead of considering me some robot or something with which is happening today, actually speaking with technology touching different heights. Don't you think? What do you think? That's basically what's making people become writers and expressive and
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that could be part of it. I think people rediscovering themselves, um, spending time with themselves, with their own thoughts. I think a lot of people make themselves very busy, and then they're not. That's a way of avoiding. That's a way of avoiding the feelings and a way of avoiding, you know. It can also be a way of avoiding rejection too, right? Because if you hide your feelings and you hide your stories from the world, nobody can reject you for it. They can't get closer to you, but they also can't reject you. And so maybe people were looking for more connection, especially during the pandemic when we couldn't be physically together. That was a way of reaching out.
My personal experience tells me rejections and failures are bigger success than success and achieving itself. If I'm able to get across correct, it's an ironic phrase where actually the success comes through the path of failure. It is if you achieve success through the path of success, then the success is not a success.
Right. Yeah.
So when you spoke about rejection, this was the thought that was running in my mind. Now, you mentioned that you'd like to give your observations or advice to people who want to get published. What is it that you'd like to tell them?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you have to go do it, and you can't give up. You have to, I learned a lot. I learned not just through this process, but, I published a book myself last year, and it was easier than I actually thought it would be in the end. So I'd say that people just kind of need to have the confidence to go and say, I'm going to try it. And get it out there. I think there's so much fear that we're scared to try, but keep trying and keep submitting and just keep trying to do what you can, because eventually it doesn't happen overnight, but eventually it might work. So
publishing isn't such a difficult achievement in today's date. What actually is a difficult thing for writers is getting read. You can get published. Publish is just the tip of the iceberg. After you get published, the readership, the reach, which even a publisher can reach your books to the stores, to online portals, to lots and lots of places. And I'm sharing this here because our readers and our viewers should know this, and they should know it's on the part of publishers. I'm speaking on part of the publishers here. That the publishers put in their 100% for the writers as far as possible, but it's like taking the cow to how the phrase goes, to the shore, but you cannot make the cow drink the water. The water that is the effort part has to be made by everybody, not just us as the publishers, but also the authors, because the readers are not going to just prop up from anywhere. They are very hard to find. People who will actually read your work once it is published, and that word that reaches out to the readers that okay, this book is worth it in the million books that are there out there, something which is a journey, which is really difficult to achieve, but still we put in our best. And at the same time, all the time we ask our poets to do the organic word of mouth marketing of the book, and we advise even you to do that if possible. And apart from that, I'd like to know, have you done any official course in writing, or it just flowed out of you as a out of passion?
I would say it just flows out of me. It lives in my brain until I'm able to get it out on paper, and that's how I do all my work. All my work ends up like that. So
it most of the time that is how the writers come out of, the people who actually do the structural courses which teaches you the meter and rhyme. Those are just the tools basically to help a writer write. There's some people out there who have made this a protocol that you have to follow the structure to be a real writer, which is sad, but that happens a lot in the industry.
I think there's some people that thrive on structure. There's people that need that, and you can take that, and you can, if that works for you, you can take that and make it your own in the end. I think that's how it has to be, though. You have to put your own flavor to it. I work very well with deadlines, but I don't do well with structure. So if I have a deadline, I know that I'm gonna do it the way that I do it, and it's gonna come together, and it's gonna be almost perfect, right? I don't need a lot of revisions in the end. But if somebody forced me to write or to work on a particular structure, I would hate it, and nothing would come out. It would never be productive. It would never be good, and I would hate the process.
Yes, because you're being constrained, restricted. Your writing needs freedom. It needs that. If you try to restrict creativity, then it is bound to not happen. That is something which I agree with. Okay. Tell us more about you're really an ideal, for those who are hard of hearing and have autistic tendencies here, who we do come across some poets who try to say these things, and then I have a poet actually we published recently. The name of the book is Sunlight Reflector. She has a problem of autism. She is autistic, and she's brilliant. Her book, her writing is out of the world. So, and I recently interviewed a person who had epilepsy, and you will not figure out that person has epilepsy if you look at that person and the kind of work she's doing. I am again publishing her as a single author in a book that is going to come out. It's called Whispers in the Wind.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so some of us have great strengths in writing, or we have different strengths, right? Everybody has kind of different strengths. But for sure, I'd say that my perspective on the world is definitely influenced by my brain, my autistic brain, and I think that's why these kind of visual imagery that I use, that is kind of dreamlike and kind of out there, but it still kind of makes sense, is still, that's part of it. That's part of the way that I see the world, or the way that I think. I don't know. That's what's great. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it almost easy for me. I can write a lot, and I can write quickly. Not poems necessarily, but when I write, texts and books and things like that. So of course it's part of me everywhere.
why don't you share some of the other work that you have written or something, maybe something that you've written except the poems that you've published with us? If you'd like
Oh,
to share something.
let me get everything is up on my shelf. Oh. So I
So go
have.
ahead.
I'm going to change the cover to this book, but this is the book that came out last year.
Okay.
That one's How to Parent Like an Autistic, and I want to make a series so that people
Okay.
can see the strengths that we have. And then I'm in some other anthologies. I can reach up. Hold on, if I could get the
Do sure. Please go ahead.
second.
Yes.
So All the Weight of Our Dreams was one of the first ones I was in. This one, unfortunately, has been taken off the shelves. They're going to make another edition at some point, but at the moment you can't buy this one anymore. And then Knowing Why was another autistic anthology. This is about late diagnosed autistic people. And then there is this one from last year that got published, Disabled Voices. So I actually, this is actually a Canadian publisher with different people with different disabilities, writing
Very
everything from
interesting.
prose to,
Wow.
yeah, that's great. So I do a lot of that kind of writing in terms of advocacy, in terms of sharing my experience with the world, and sharing, what could be problems, but what could also be strengths, and giving.
You're doing a great job. I can see that it's absolutely amazing. I'll definitely like to read one of those books and all of those books if possible. And if you'd like, I can also, if you share the names with me on private chat, I'll definitely put that up for people on YouTube when we share this video with everybody around there.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. So I'd like to feedback from you. What is it? How did you find the book? The close friends and relatives where you published with us. Do you have a copy with you?
I do.
Oh, excellent. You've not shown that so far, so I was curious.
Yeah, I have it. I was really impressed. Like, I'm just very happy. First of all, happy that it was accepted, and then to receive my own copy was so fantastic. Especially because it's such, like, I don't know, people can, if other people have copies, if you don't, the paper is very thick. The pages are very thick. It's very high quality, and I really love it. I mean. And there's so many interesting poems in here. And I've watched some of the other videos with other poets too, which is so much fun to hear their stories and to see the face behind the poem is to me it's been a fantastic experience, and I hope that I'll submit again for sure for another one.
Do contribute. We have so many other anthologies coming up and submission calls that are running. We also have another brand called Free Spirit,
Okay.
in which we compile short stories and print novels, fiction, non-fiction, both. So
Nice.
we hope to have you again. Anything else that you'd like to share with us that we should know?
I would say, I guess, again, more advice for people who want to write, who want to start getting their words out into the world, is to really be confident in yourself and do it your way. You don't have to do it in a particular way. But there is an audience for what you have to say, and people do need to hear what everybody has to say. I really believe that everybody has a voice, and that we all need to be heard. So it's almost a crime if you have a talent and you have something to share and you don't share it. That's how I see it.
Kelly, you are the first person, I must confess here, I'm having a conversation with, and I really I'm having a connect with you, which was not been with any other poet. so far, the way the conversation is flowing, and I really don't want to leave you. I'm trying to think what other things can we discuss here so that I can stay in touch with you and start keep communicating and talking to you. Really, that's the
Oh,
way it is.
oh,
And
thank you.
I'm being very honest here. I have not had that kind of feeling in me with any other poet so far. I must have spoken to more than a dozen poets by now. And I'm not trying to demean them, but at the same time,
Yeah. No, but we could for sure do this again. And like I said, I should just get out more of my poems and get out there, and then we have an excuse to do this again.
I'm sure we should do it more often. Okay, with that, I'd just like to take a formal approval from you for putting this up on social media, YouTube, and other avenues wherever it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
And I'll also send a written approval letter if you'd like to please sign and send it back to us. And with that, I'd like to thank our audience, whoever watched us so far. Right now, I don't see many people have joined us, but there have been people who have come in and gone. I'm sure there will be more people who will watch it when we see this, share it around. So I'd like to thank all those people who have been with us or are going to watch us. I'd like to thank Instagram for giving us this platform which has made this possible today. And I'd like to thank you for giving your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I just finished saying that I cannot stop talking to you, and I'm feeling so. Oh no, I don't want to leave this conversation. Yeah, sure. So
Well,
with
thank you.
this, I think we'll conclude the event today. And namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.